Hello and welcome to the ninth session of English communication. In today's session, we will be taking a look at telephone skills or etiquettes. Whatever you do, wherever you work, or even if you are a student, having effective phone skills can be highly beneficial. Your ability to clearly and effectively communicate over the phone, as well as your attention to detail, can impact your overall success during phone conversations. Phone skills include effective communication, interpersonal skills, and the ability to incorporate appropriate phone etiquette. Successful phone conversations can depend on how well you apply your conversational techniques, how clearly you speak, and how you approach the people you speak with. Since phone conversations can be a part of any business operation, it is important to develop these skills to showcase your expertise on your resume, during interviews, and eventually in your workplace. Let's take a quick look now at common telephone etiquettes. The first one, keep a pleasant voice pitch. This means that when you're talking on the phone, do not be too loud or screechy, as this can be very disconcerting. But do not keep your voice so low that the other person has to strain to make out what you're saying. Use greetings like good morning and how are you to ensure that your first impressions are good. Remember, your first impressions are your last impressions. Next, know your audience. It's important to know whom you're speaking with so that you can set the tone and choose language that is relatable and appropriate to them. Third, never call any person at odd hours, like early mornings or late nights. The person will not be interested in talking with you. Keep to office timings because that works for the best. Remember to introduce yourself. If you're the one who's called, before starting the conversation, introduce yourself and then confirm whether you are speaking to the right person. Ensure that your content is crisp and relevant. Don't play with words, come to the point directly, and convey whatever information is required. Before picking up the phone to make a call, ensure that your content is ready and prepared thoroughly. Only then should you pick up the phone and begin a conversation. Remember that in a conversation, you are going to be a speaker as well as a listener. Be a good listener and always ask for feedback to know whether the other person is on the same page as you. Also, when the call is done, always ask politely whether the other person has something to add. Then end with pleasantries. Speak each and every word clearly. The person on the other end cannot see your expressions. So remember, your tone should also be apt to express your feelings in the correct form. Another very important part of telephone etiquette is never to leave the other person on hold for very long. It's rude and may cause irritation to the person at the other end. If there are disturbances around you, like television sound, radio, or it could be people talking, please ensure that the volumes are turned down or that you are in a separate room with the door locked so that you're audible to the person on the other end. Do not call when you're eating or if you're involved in some other activity. First off, try and ensure that the calls are scheduled during non-meal hours. If there are unplanned calls that are business related, take a break from eating and finish the call first. Not only do we sound funny when we speak while eating, but we also cannot be clearly understood. Never, never, never be on a professional call if you're watching a video, reading a book, or playing games, or anything of that sort. Remember, it may come off as irresponsible and disinterested to some. Another important telephone etiquette is never to take too long to pick up a call. If you miss the call, make sure you call right back as the other person might have something important to convey. Avoid giving missed calls at workplaces as it is extremely irritating to the other person. Be professional and always approach first if you are the one in need. Do not leave your phone numbers or your emails for others to get in touch with you if you are the one approaching for work. That comes off as extremely irresponsible and very, very unprofessional. In professional conversations, remember, never talk for too long as the other person might be busy. Keep your content crisp and relevant and come to the point after formal greetings. If you are not the correct person and the speaker or the caller needs to speak with your coworker, politely say things like, "One moment, please, I'll call him or her in a minute." If your colleague, the relevant one, is not on the office premises, take a message on his or her behalf, and remember, do not forget to convey this to them later. If you have network issues in a call, which is often the case, deal with them patiently and wisely. People tend to raise their voices in such a situation. If it's a patchy network, even a raised voice is going to sound patchy. So do not resort to yelling. Moreover, it causes disturbances to others around you. Check your network. If the issue is at your end, politely tell them that you're disconnecting the call and you will find a better spot to call them back from. Chances are they won't be able to hear it, but hey, you have no choice. If reconnection takes too long, leave them a message with a rescheduled call. In case the network disturbance is on the other person's end, politely tell them that you can't hear them. And finally, remember to wrap up the conversation professionally. The final telephone etiquette is to tie up all the loose ends of the conversation. You can also ensure that during the wrap up, you relay the important highlights of the conversation to ensure that everyone again is on the same page. If the conversation is like a conference with a larger group, take everyone's final say and make sure that everyone has put forth their point without hesitation. Now, here are 10 tips for answering and handling calls professionally. We'll take a look at each one of them one by one. First off, promptly answer calls. I know we are repeating this, but we cannot stress the importance of this point. The average ring takes 6 seconds. If you let the phone ring 5 times, that's approximately 30 seconds. Picking up too quickly can also catch people off guard. It's a good practice to answer the call on somewhere around the 3rd ring. Be warm and welcoming. During a phone call, you can transmit more than your voice. You can also transfer emotions. For this reason, keeping a warm and helping attitude can leave a positive impression on your callers. Next, introduce yourself and your business. Have you ever called a business and received a simple hello? Then you must ask if you're calling X business. By introducing your company and yourself, you let the caller know that they have reached the correct or incorrect place. Third, speak clearly, enunciate. There are several key elements you need to follow to clearly communicate with callers. Articulate your words, use good posture, slow down, and speak up. Be loud and clear. Do not use slang. Most industries, like the medical industry, for example, will have their own jargon. Professionals are used to this, but remember that your callers may not be familiar with it. Use language that they can understand, and also ensure that you are not overwhelming them by using words that they are unfamiliar with. Always ask before you put people on hold. Leaving people hanging on a call and unsure of what is going on can agitate them. So if you are going to put someone on hold or going to transfer them to another number, let them know what to expect. Don't just put calls through. When transferring a call, it happens, let the caller know what is going to happen next. Are you sending them straight to voicemail, or are you checking to see if the particular person is available? By sending them straight through, you can confuse the caller and even the person who's receiving the call. Be prepared for your calls. It's normal for people answering the phone to find themselves occupied with other things. But when you answer a call, your focus needs to be on the person at the other end of the call. Take messages properly. I know this is repetition, but this is important. When you need to take a message, make sure that you take all the pertinent information, like the name of the caller, the reason for their call, their number, and the business that they're calling from. and summarize the call before it ends. Callers will know if you were listening, if you can accurately summarize what their call was about. Also, if you missed something important during the call, this is your opportunity to get it right. Now we move on to things like leaving a message. Usually we leave a message through a voicemail. So though leaving a voicemail is quite simple, at times nerves, stress, and miscommunication can result in you leaving a less than professional message. Here are a few tips for leaving courteous and business-like voicemails that will get returned. First of all, think it through. It is always a good rule to think through what you want to talk about before you make a call. Run through the points you want to address and mentally note the most important item to mention if you end up reaching their voicemail. Be concise so that your voicemail states your purpose for calling and doesn't waste anyone's time. Introduce yourself. Begin every voicemail by introducing yourself so that the person or business knows who's calling right away. Avoid saying things like, "Hey, it's me." You may believe that the person will recognize your voice, but why leave it to chance? State your full name every time. If you're leaving an initial message for business purposes, we recommend that you state your name twice, once in the beginning and once at the end of the conversation. Make sure that you know how to pronounce or say the name of the person you're calling. If you don't know how to pronounce the name, ask someone who might know or Google the pronunciation. You don't want to start your relationship by insulting them before you've even spoken to them in person. Speak slowly. If you speak too fast, the person on the other end might not understand your message. They may need to rewind your voicemail over and over to catch everything. Talk slightly slower than you usually do, and if you're a speedy talker, slow it down. This is incredibly important to remember when you're telling them your name, contact number, or email address. Keep in mind that people write slower than they talk. No one wants to listen to a voicemail message 10 times over. They might simply decide not to return the call. Enunciate your words clearly. Bad phone connections happen all the time. Try your best to mitigate any issues that might prevent the person you're calling from getting all the details they need to call you back. Mention your availability clearly. If you want to receive a call back or if you're going to call again, state when you are available to take the call. If you are the one calling back, let them know when to expect your call. Just make sure that you follow up and try again exactly when you said you would. Don't leave people hanging. It's extremely rude and impolite. Your message should be short and sweet. A message is a message. It's not a lecture. Keep it to the point. Finally, make sure you touch on the most important reason for your call. If your voicemail is over 30 seconds long, it's far too long. Work on trimming out the insubstantial information from your voicemails. Thank you so much, and I'll see you again soon.